creates a phospholuminescent chemical, the same chemical found in the electric eel. Now what is that? The neurons are just filled with energy and there's a glow. And the neurons now are heightened and they're storing energy. And that's what gives those colors and patterns during the experience. And if you switch that molecule again, it turns into the chemical that you find in mammals that are hibernating. In other words, no sex drive, no appetite, the body's in stasis. You're no longer having any drives. What a time to dream. What a time to create a future when the body is no longer the mind. Take that chemical and tweak it again, and it's the most powerful hallucinogenic known to man. And now you're talking about the God molecule. You're talking about the inner world as the real world. And now you are walking. And this is where you go from space-time into time-space. And that's the vision quest or the lucid experience or whatever mystical moment that has been talked about for antiquity. And it takes a little bit to get people to this point, but when the neurotransmitters change, the chemicals are a downward causation of a shift in consciousness. And when that happens, holy hell, because the person will never be the same. I've had experiences, I understand them, and you can't go back to business as usual after a few of those.
Okay, and you just dropped it in passing early on that you have had these experiences where you just happen to say, oh, when I'm out of my body. Okay, whoa, hold on. What were you saying? So I assume that also this is the crossover period that makes that kind of experience available to one, right?
Yeah, I think, my interest is to demystify this.
Right.
So
let's demystify it.
I mean, information, you teach people information, you teach them how to do it, and then it creates transformation. If we can measure transformation, that's more information to teach transformation better, and we can close the gap. So, in one of our advanced workshops, we actually did extensive meditation. One of the things I've realized in my own personal experience is that you have to go past the point where you want to lay down in your meditation. There comes a point when you want to lay down or you want to give up or stop. If you go a little bit past that point and you sit up a little bit longer, and then you lay down, and you can do it early in the morning because the neurotransmitters are just right. They're not quite melatonin, they're not quite serotonin, they're in between. And if you can get up and do your meditation early enough and sit up for an extended period of time and then lay down, the light show is going to begin. Yes. And so I started having these mystical experiences a couple years ago, and I would literally, they were so unusual that I had to go back to my quantum physics books and begin to look at what exactly was going on. But I wasn't taking any drugs. My brain was the pharmacy, in a sense. And I was having these Kundalini experiences, and it was like I was getting plugged into a light socket, like someone plugged me into the electricity socket, and I could feel every single cell of my body turning on all at once, and it was like somebody took that dial and turned it up, and it was amazing. So there was a signature energetically of love that came with that. Yes. It was the thing that I became the most interested in, because when I started having these experiences, Regina, the first thing I realized is I got this all wrong. I really had it all wrong, because this intelligence is so incredibly loving, and it's who we are. We're just separate from it. We're particle instead of wave. And when your nervous system tunes into that and the electromagnetism comes with it, the only way you can describe it is that you are so present, so conscious, and so in love with the idea of being alive that you don't want anything else. You can't want in that moment, because if you started to want, you would lose the feeling. So you can't want. All you can do is be, right, and love. So I started having these experiences, and then I started thinking, well, maybe we should be able to teach this. So I started doing the research on the neuroendocrinology and what it took and the brain chemistry at the time. And then I had to start explaining what the heck was happening to me. So that's how I got involved in it.
Wow, I mean, this brings up so many different paths we can go on, and one of them, we were talking at the very beginning about our nonlinear selves that go out from space-time to time-space, and you've had these, you call them slippages back and forth between the two. I've had some of these as well, and these experiences involuntarily. Meditation, I just need to lie down for a minute, and you think you're going back to sleep and you're rolling in a field of plaid, you know, or whatever. But what kind of slippage were you talking about between these?
Well,
I won't say dimensions, into this nonlinear space.
Well, I think the biggest lie we've been ever told is that we're linear beings living a linear life.
Yes.
The moment I had
more.
my first couple of these experiences, I know we are dimensional beings living a very dimensional experience of reality. And all of this indoctrination is to keep us from that, because once the game is up, you can't ever go back to being the same person. So this reality, this dimension that we live in, is called space-time. Space is eternal. Space is the field. And you and I experience time by moving through space. So if I'm going to go here to the door, I have to get up and walk through space, and when I walk through space, I'm going to experience time. I have an interview later on today. I know it's going to happen because I'm going to linearly walk through time, space to experience that time. So in this dimension, we could say that space is the field and time is the river. And so we experience time as we move through space. Got it? In the inverse reality, it's actually opposite. In other words, time is everywhere. Time goes on forever. And you experience space when you move through time. Let me see how I can say it another way. So if time is the field and space is the river, then all of space is enfolded in time. So when you change your speed in this dimension, if we go fast from here to the door, the faster we move, the less time it takes, right? So we can change time by moving through speed. Well, in this dimension where everything is vibration and electromagnetism, the faster your vibration is, the speed, the different levels of space you experience. So all of space is stacked on top of each other here. It's all happening in now because time is everywhere. There is no time. So everything's happening in this moment. And so different levels of consciousness and different levels of energy allow us to experience these different levels of space. So the you that's in the Egyptian period and the you that's in the future is all lined up simultaneously. And when you start slipping through these dimensions, you live. And when I say live, I'm saying that it is real as this. And you know who you are.
Yes.
And the person that you're married to, or the person that you work with, or your best friend is wearing a different face, and you understand your agreement that you negotiated in all of those other places. So you have a few of those experiences, and you start to no longer care about your checking account, the car you drive, what you look like, because you realize that you look like somebody else in another place. And some of the issues and some of the challenges that you have in this life, you're experiencing in that exact same life. And the choices you make here affect the choices that are happening there. And we could say that there's only past lives and future lives in this dimension, in space-time. In that dimension, there is no past lives. It's all happening now. I don't know how else to say it, but as you begin to change your consciousness, you can slip into different spaces, different realities, and experience aspects of yourself that are just like this wonderful kaleidoscope of possibilities.